Hey, welcome to the Grand Potential. We are so excited about our guest today. Truthfully, it's all about reaching our grand potential and functioning from our highest self to serve in our businesses. And we are truly blessed today to have David Fagan with us to share his wisdom, his experience, his background, and his success with you to support you to reach your top talent. And he runs an amazing program called Top Talent JV Mastermind, which he will tell us a little bit about today. But David, we are so excited to have you here. And thank you for taking the time to contribute to our people. Now, your experiences has been vast, far and wide in the very few years that you have reached amazing success. You have been the former CEO of Guerrilla Marketing, which sold over 23 million books in 62 languages. Imagine, people. Wow. And that went all over the world. He's also the former owner of LCO Communications, really a Beverly Hills PR firm that's represented 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy winners, and 43 New York Times best-selling authors. Yeah. So David, your experience is vast and wide, but what I really love about you the most, David, is the depth in which you care about the businesses that you serve. You really support them to have clarity, purpose, passion through supporting them to write books, supporting them to be in your magazine, and also really show up. You support them in all areas of their success. And I really respect you for that. And I've had the opportunity of participating in your Top Talent JV Mastermind, which was, incredible at transforming where we are in our business to where we want to be through your mastermind breakout rooms too. So I'm curious, what is your why? So where does your juice come from in reaching this grand potential? Because you've had a lot of success and you still have the same purpose and passion to make a difference for all of us folks building our business. So share with us what your why is all about.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction as well. That's something there. I like how you, I can tell you're passionate here, Carolyn. You got this energy. I had to literally turn down the speakers on my laptop. We got so much volume coming through here. I've got passion about really just helping people not become the world's best kept secret. And, it's a lot of fun to find talent, scout talent, and to help those people kind of rise up in the world and serve others. We're really first and foremost a talent agency. We represent talent, we manage talent, we publicize talent. And we really do that most through publishing our clients, publicizing our clients, producing our clients. And so in that way, we're always out, looking for that talented servant leader, that talented voice, that idea person, that person who is giving more than they're getting, and we want to balance those scales. So it's a lot of fun to know that I just woke up and there's somebody out there right now that's giving it all away, making it all happen, and nobody knows who they are until they meet me.
Right.
And I literally can go ahead and cast that light and give them all the joy, all the accolades. And they don't do it for the accolades, but the accolades, and the gratitude and appreciation that really they deserve. And there's a lot of people out there. So knowing that there's that single mom, knowing there's that guy that's been told no 100 times, and I'm going to be the guy that sees it and says, yes, and here's how, and yes, and here's why, and yes, and that's really exciting to be that person, to be able to give somebody that opportunity.
Wow. And, I truly believe that every entrepreneur needs to know that there is businesses out there and people out there that they can serve from that place, the same place that you are. And David, I know a little bit about your history, and I know that this is really connected to you witnessing the transformation of these people from not being visible to having that exposure and having that success and being able to impact more people's lives with their success. So I just love that whole process. And you really become one of their greatest advocates for success too. And they have so much support from your whole team. I know that too.
Well, so we do have a team, and that is a big part of it. And we do want to help people go from invisible to invincible. Sometimes we like to say we make celebrities business people and business people celebrities, or business people celebrities and celebrities business people, because we do work with both. But there really is a big change that has been coming and is going on all around us right now. Maybe now's a good time to share that, maybe not. But there is something that's going on in this world that I feel like I get and other people are starting to get. And it's really what's going to not just change things, but make that change last.
Yep. And I feel the same change. And I truly believe the last 2 years has opened up this opportunity and change for people to think about what's possible. So this power of possibility and being curious and looking for it and pursuing that. So, the way that you serve those people, they need that, as well as the other businesses within our community, of course. Yet things are changing to have more of an open mind and curiosity to make that happen and to make that visibility, and the support is there. I mean, this links into community, I think, and I know that you have a very dedicated, loyal, committed community with top talent JV masterminds. You have some critical contributors there consistently with every event that you do. And it's really in alignment with what we're about with the Grand Connection, because I really know that community, it changes everything. And so does the support of a community. So can you speak to us about your philosophy and connection to what community means to support these people?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little bit of a tangent here, but I'll be sure to connect it. And my belief is really that there was truly what we know as a Renaissance period, right? You think of Michelangelo, you think of Leonardo, and there's this period of the Renaissance. And it's interesting, these men, and there were other people like them, they were mathematicians, they were sculptors, they were artists, they were writers. They weren't any one thing. And that's why, for the last 40, 50 years, maybe even 60, 70 years now, when somebody has a lot of different talents, they'll say, oh, you're a Renaissance man, or oh, you're a Renaissance woman. And what they're essentially saying is, you're so diverse in these different ways. And I really believe that we're coming into another time and period of Renaissance, which also means rebirth. And it used to be, 50 years ago, it's like, you're a waitress. You're just a waitress. You're a mechanic. If you're a mechanic, then this is what mechanics do. Mechanics don't do art. Waitresses don't do, they put you in a box, right? But what we've learned is we really are multi-dimensional beings. And just like we have physical DNA, I believe we have spiritual DNA. I don't want to get too far out there on you, but I think we have spiritual DNA. We are unique beings, right? And we are multi-dimensional beings. And the world is moving into a place where it is not just okay for us to be more than one thing. We're kind of starting to expect it, right? And what's so beautiful about that is you can be a mom, and you can have a business, and you can write a book, and you can star in your own movie, and you can start your own charity. And David Allen has a great quote that I like, you can do anything you want. You just can't do everything you want. Meaning we are limited by time. We do have to pick and choose, but there are so many things that we can do, and we can do them simultaneously. Now, that's my tangent, and to connect it to my group, that's what's so amazing about my group and my community. I think your community as well, is that we're seeing these people where they're like, I want to open up a food truck, but I also do art for calendars that I'm now selling as NFTs. but at night I'm taking a class on Japanese. And you're like, what? We try to connect the dots in that, right? So it's exciting, it's fun. People do need to know how to monetize those things from time to time. I do have a very feminine side. I do have a very touchy-feely artistic side, the other brain side that I can tap into. But I would be lying if I didn't say to you that a certain degree of my success hasn't come from also being able to have systems and accountability and knowing my numbers and knowing what gets results and how to move the needle, and also surrounding myself with people that know those things as well.
Yeah, and that's the other part of the community within the community. I mean, what we're discovering with the Grand Connection is the same thing. We just keep surrendering to this next level of contribution and what that looks like. Yeah. And it is multidimensional. I mean, but that's the grand adventure. Everything's grand around here, David, just letting you know, but that really truly is the grand adventure in this. So, I mean, how do you think you support businesses to really release that fear or past limitations, like you were talking, going from a single dimensional to a multi-dimensional conceptual position? So how does your organization support businesses to do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would go one step back. First, we really want to support the individual and help them understand how an organization will help them reach their goals. So you as an individual, what are your goals? And helping that individual realize that having an organization, and I'm using the word organization on purpose, I'm not using the word business on purpose, because an organization could be a nonprofit, it could be a 501(c)(3), it could be a charity, it could be a church, it could be a lot of different things, it could be a school. So how does an organization and a community, one of the words you're using, help you reach those things, and tap into, dare I say, your God-given gifts, talents, abilities, source, whatever word you want to use, the universe. You have these things. How do you make the most out of those things? And then kind of connecting the dots. And so starting with you kind of going down to an organization, is it actually a business? And if it is a business, I want to be very purposeful and intentional with the word business, because the word business really indicates profits, and it's okay to be profitable. We have a lot of big hearted people out there that are giving, and they don't do it to make money. And sometimes we have to tell them it's okay to make money. And oh, by the way, do you know that money is a resource? And do you know with that resource, you can reach more people? Resources equal reach, right? Resources equal reach, people. So, we're kind of, these are building blocks, right? So what I'm doing is I'm kind of stacking up the blocks here, making sure we get them all. But the ways in which we're helping people as they realize I'm intentionally, consciously deciding this is a business, which means I'm here to make money, and it's okay to do that. Now helping people understand, okay, there's different ways to create those streams of income. What's best for you? But sometimes people jump into the income conversation when they haven't wholeheartedly accepted the fact that I am really going to be a business. I am going to be a business. I am going to be a money-making business, right? It sounds like a funny thing to accept, but some people get into it kind of haphazardly or accidentally, which is totally okay. But at some point, they do have to kind of intentionally identify themselves as, okay, this is my thing. This is my money-making business. This is how I'm going to put a roof over my head. Yeah.
And how I'm going to create freedom and abundance within my life and my business. Here. Thank you. So I'm going to pass the torch to Susan there, and she's going to ask you our second core value, which is create.
Lovely to meet you, David. And I've also attended your Top Talent JV Mastermind, and many of our members of our community have been there, and they all love it. It's a great community for us, and for everybody here that's listening, check it out. So you talked about this is my thing. So somebody figures out that this is my thing. So they've gone through the figuring out what their skill set is, what their passions are. They kind of figured out they're not really making enough money yet, because this is a lot of people out there. And what steps do you take them through? Like because lot of times we see somebody and they're right off here. They're visible, they're successful, and you want to be them, but there's a journey to reach that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
tell us
sure.
a journey, like give us an example, transformational journey of what somebody could go through.
Well, there is a journey, and for most people, it starts with something that they love, and then it starts to turn into all these things that they don't love, and they start to lose why they got into it in the first place. And you do need both. You do need the evolution, because sometimes what you love hasn't been transformed into a way in which you can really make money. And I'll give you an example. There's three major ways to make more money in your business without leaving your dreams. Okay. First one, a good example would be movie theaters. If you looked at movie theaters about 100 years ago, they were pretty much going out of business. And, at least one person realized the guy selling the popcorn on the street, that's right, the popcorn was sold on the street. You bought the popcorn on the street, then you went inside. He was making as much money as they were net, right? When you added it all up, they're like, shoot, this guy's he's netting as much money as we're making. So what did they do? Of course, they moved the popcorn inside. And so now you fast forward to today, and as we all know, for decades now, they make way more money on the concession stands than they do on the actual movie. And now they're selling burgers and wine, and they'll bring it to your seat, and they're just gourmet meals, right? So the question is, are they not in the movie business anymore? Nope, still in the movie business. They're about movies, they love movies, they show movies, it's the experience for movies. It's just they found a different way to monetize what they did. They thought the money was in selling the tickets, when the money was actually in selling the concessions. And I think that's a really good example that a lot of people have to learn. What is the money really in? I've got another client named Jeff Webb, and he got out of college to be an attorney in the 1970s. And he wanted to, he was supposed to, become a lawyer, but he was on the cheer squad in college. And he loves cheer, out of all things, cheer, right? He's a guy, he loves cheer. And so him and some friends, they created these camps where they teach cheer, and they had so much fun doing these summer camps for people to do cheer, but there wasn't any money in it. Oh, I love it. So what they did is they decided, what we need to do? They all need clothes. We should sell clothing. Well, fast forward to today, that company is called Varsity, and they are the #1 company in the world. And oh, by the way, they also sell like caps and gowns and things for graduations. They are a $1 billion cheerleading company. But how do they make their money? They make it through apparel. Now they do all kinds of camps, and they have all kinds of culture, and they make people smile, and they make people happy. He created the world championships of cheerleading. Now more than 70 countries around the world come and compete because he created rules and how you judge the stunts and the tricks. And the point being is, here's a guy who loved cheerleading, and if he just tried to sell summer camps, would it have ever become a $1 billion company? No. But he figured out what they needed. He created organizations, he created associations, he created joint ventures with places like ESPN. And now this last summer, my client, Jeff Webb, who we helped do his book, make it a bestseller, his crowning achievement, the Olympics just accepted cheerleading as an Olympic sport this last summer. So these are just kind of the crazy cool stories that just to get you kind of thinking here. It's not always what it starts out to be, right? You love it, you're passionate about it, but now how do you monetize it? And so that's what we want our community to do. That's how I want to help people. And that's how it can start. And by the way, that's just one of the ways.
And it just really is to open up our minds to the other possibilities that are available to us. And really, he's talking about this one fellow reaching his grand potential, and he's still on the journey. Oh my goodness. So this creative, innovative position, maybe it's not exactly what you think it's going to be, but what else can it be?
Yeah. Well, there's 3 things that you can change. The first thing that I just talked about is change what you sell, right? So the movie theater went from really changing tickets to make money to changing the concessions. And what the cheerleading company changed is they went from changing, instruction on cheerleading and camps to changing all the clothing that they would need, to have. Still same business, same love, same interest, same universe, just a different thing to sell. Another way that people change is the way in which you sell. So for a lot of years, companies like Circuit City, The Good Guys, Montgomery Wards, right? They sold electronics. And then what's happened over the last 10 years? They've pretty much all went out of business, except for the companies that went and got online. And Best Buy not only got online really quickly, but they created the Geek Squad with like these experts, right? So where everybody else went out of business, they were able to succeed. Now, are they still in electronics? Yes. It's just they stopped selling it mostly through brick and mortar, and they also sell it online, and they also sell it through experts, and they also sell it through door-to-door experts that will come to you. So they changed not what they sold, but how they sold. So think about that. How are you selling right now? For a lot of people, they were selling at events. And when COVID happened, they're like, dang, I got to change how I sell. I can't sell at an exhibit anymore. I can sell speaking, but I can't sell speaking at an event anymore. I've got to change, right? And then, of course, the third way is to change who you sell to. I mostly sell and help, adults and older people, the people that are coming to me. They're in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. They're successful. They want to be more successful. They don't want to learn how to do it themselves, right? Those are my people. Younger people, they kind of want to do it themselves. They're good with technology. They'll figure it out. But I could change my group, right? I could say, well, here's something I could do for younger people. And one of the things I did is I did a teen entrepreneur summer camp. It was featured in Forbes. I did it for fun. It was kind of a lost leader, but it gave me a lot of press. And guess what happens when you're teaching teens or you're writing books about teen entrepreneurialism? Guess who buys those? Parents. So parents are starting to read things they never would have read before. And so then parents are coming to me going, I wanted my kid to be an entrepreneur because quite honestly, I wanted to do that. I didn't think it was possible, but I started reading your book. I started hearing what my kid was telling me that you were telling them, and I'm in now, right? So maybe it's just for men and you can make it for women. Right? Old Spice has commercials now where the woman's using the guy's Old Spice stuff. And he's like, why do you keep taking my bath stuff and my, whatever. But what they're doing is they're opening up a market, that was mostly for men to women. And sometimes they'll take a market that was mostly for women to men, or for adults to kids, or for Americans to Asians. So it's changing who you're selling to. So look at who your market is and decide, can I increase my market? One last example is Mercedes 20 years ago or so. They're known for having a very luxury brand. They said, well, why don't we come out and create a C-Class and we'll make a more affordable version of Mercedes? And some people are like, I don't think we should do that. Like we're known as this luxury brand. And if we get kind of down on the bottom of the luxury brand, maybe it's going to hurt our brand. Well, long story short, they did it. They opened the C-Class and it's just added, millions and tens of millions to their bottom line, every year. So we talked about what you sell and how you might change that. We talked about how you sell and how you might change that up. And there's lots of different ways. We just discussed a few of them. And then we changed about who you sell to and maybe some of the ways you change up with, who you sell. And sometimes in changing who you sell, you'll find an even bigger market. Doria Cordova, who I think you guys know, or might have even met through my JV mastermind. Yeah, Money and You. She did a lot of stuff in the US, but there was a lot of things in the US around financial literacy that started to become more common knowledge. The things that a Tony Robbins might teach or Robert Kiyosaki might teach, whatever, became a little bit more common knowledge. But she took that stuff to Asia and Australia and, places like Singapore and Vietnam. And this stuff was like blowing their mind. They'd never heard of it before. And so she just kind of took the same stuff that was really basic and simple, and she just moved it over there, which, by the way, my mentor, Jay Levinson of Guerrilla Marketing, that's what he did too. That's how these books are printed in 62 languages around the world. Guerrilla Marketing works everywhere. It might be a little bit different about what's unconventional from place to place, but the idea of being unconventional with your marketing, which is what Guerrilla Marketing is something that can be taught everywhere. So there you go. There's three things in a nutshell.
Oh my gosh, like I can see my brain spinning, and anyone who's listening probably going, oh, I never thought of that. And that's one of the great things about when you go to collaboration events. like the Grand Connection and JV Talent, is you meet other people that are doing different things. And it gets you thinking. Because if you're just staying at home and going in your own little path, your blinders are closed. You don't see it all. And the more people you meet and the more collaborations you have, and just talking to you, I'm already thinking about some ideas for us at the Grand Connection, like, using those 3 principles. So great advice, David. Now, this is strategic. You also do tactical work, right? So if I come, let's say I'm a client and I'm coming to you, and now we figured out my strategy, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a new way of monetizing things, and I want to get some visibility. What's the next step I'm going to do with you?
Well, I'm not sure how literal you want to be, but there is a place on my website where you can schedule time and we can have a little bit of a discovery session to figure that out. But if you want to fast forward to the point of, okay, you just hired me, now what are we doing? Well, what I'm doing is I have 100+ business audit. And so we kind of audit you in your business, where we go through, let's talk about the brand, and there's 10, 11 points, checkpoints in there to check off. Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Okay, now let's get into your online brand, as far as, do you have a website? Do you have a social media? And not just have those things, but do you have these certain things? And the reason why that's so important is because I have something I call the law of entrepreneur order, which just means that although you can do things out of order, if you do them in the right order, they're most likely to work out. And one of the biggest challenges and problems I see with a lot of entrepreneurs out there is they go and they meet somebody who wants to sell them number 76 on the list or number 83 on the list, and they haven't done 1 through 9. It's like, you don't have 1 through 19 done, and you're trying to buy 83. I mean, you do need 83, and it might be great to do 83, and you could do it out of order, but I tell you what, you figure out, and so we start off with that business audit, and we kind of figure out what people are missing, what the priorities should be, and, kind of get things done in the right order, and then kind of build upon it, from there. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and, there are plenty of exceptions to the rule, but, there's no reason to start worrying about SEO if you don't have anything to sell. There's no reason to build your presentation if you don't have a special offer.
Yeah. And I find that, if you got to get that clarity in the message and the brand, because I do web development. That's my other business, and SEO. But if they don't know what the product exactly is going to be, and they're not clear on the message, it's a waste at that point. You have to step back, do those beginning steps, and then get through it, in an order. Now you said this law of entrepreneurial order. Can you share some of that with us? What that is for you? Yeah,
well, it just basically states that, if you build your business in the right order, you are more likely to, succeed and level up faster than doing it out of order. And I'll give you another example of that. You rush out and build a website, but you don't have your brand figured out. You don't have your special offer figured out. Now you figure it out. Guess what you're doing? You're rebuilding your website. So by doing it over again a second time, that's maybe cost that you didn't need. Or, for example, we'll have somebody that say, hey, I want to write a book about this. So they write a book about it, but the book has really nothing to do with the business. And if they wanted to write a business book, they should have wrote a book about this. So either A, they got to change their business to match their book, or they got to change their book to match their business. Or again, we might have lost out on some revenue. And now by doing it over or doing it again, maybe we're spending more money than what we didn't really need to. And had we just done it that way from the beginning.
And this all comes back to proper planning at the beginning and proper strategy and thinking it through. What is your strategy? What do you want to do? What are your goals? Yeah. And then flow through on all the things. Many people come to me and they go, hey, I want to run some ads. Well, where are you going to send the ads to? Well, they don't really have a good landing page, and the product, and it's very good advice. Doing things in the right order. Carolyn, what do you want to add?
I just want to add to this about the Grand Connection. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why David's doing what he's doing. That's why we're supporting these businesses to get these business skills, to understand these principles and processes, to realize what has to happen first, second, third, and that you need to do this in order to be successful. And the injustice for me is seeing people suffer. Like it's for you too, David. I know it is. It's people with great gifts and talents and skills, yet no no abundance, no abundance financially. They don't have enough clients. They're suffering, and so it all wraps down back up to really being clear on who you are, what you stand for, and how you're going to serve. So I'm going to jump in to collaborate now, Susan. Okay. So David, along your path here, you've been connected to a number of communities like the one that you've created. There's some people that had some major influence on, you being courageous and getting clear on your strategy and your law of entrepreneurship. So I'm just curious about what that was like for you and what those key points and principles and factors were that supported your success.
Well, there is a natural evolution, and we're trying to get as many things right as we can, but I also want to leave room for the evolution of, hey, we got to the end of the street, we can look to the left, we can look to the right, and we weren't really trying to get to the end of the street. Now we see to the left is the beach and the right is the mountains, and where do I want to go? But now I know why I'm here. So the idea that we're going to know everything, I want to be careful about, or know too much, but we're making, and that's why you want experts, and that's why you want mentors, which is the answer to your question. Probably one of the greatest things I've ever done is just really sought out people that are where it is that I want to be. My dad's a great dad, but there's certain things about, business I wouldn't go to him for. And that's not a knock on him, but it's just, he's not an expert in those things. And people do that all the time. They have friends and family, and there's these two C words that really mess people up. One, compliments they don't deserve. Well, gee, my mom said this was really good. It's like, well, and the other C is criticism. Well, these people said this was a bad idea. So, we get compliments we don't deserve that show up in our head, right? Their voices. And we get criticism that shows up in our head and their voices. And we got these voices in our head. And I'm the same way. Like, I'm showing up in the morning, looking in the mirror going, do I shave my goatee? Well, people said I look too young. Well, I have my goatee. Well, then I look too old. It's a goatee, people. It's facial hair. Come on. But the point is if I'm sitting there wondering about my brand, then you are too. And I've had a lot of great marketers come to me and say, well, David, these are great marketers. Why would they hire you? It's always the hardest to market ourselves. It's always the hardest, for advice for ourselves. And that's where we need those professional opinions from people who are truly experts in those areas. So J. Conrad Levinson, hanging out in the backyard with him, hearing stories of, the Leo Burnett ad agency and everything, he knows about marketing and ads and guerrilla marketing. I've got some amazing stories that I've heard and had with him. On the flip side, I've got Michael Levine, Beverly Hills publicist, and you listed out all those Academy Award winners. And, I've been around some of that. But that company that I owned and I bought and I took over, it was a 7-figure deal that was featured in news and media. I kind of bought myself a seat at the table. He got most of those clients, but I got to learn from him, right? Mm-hmm. And I got to learn about publicity and media and sitting in the Beverly Hills office of, celebrity clients coming in, seeing what they're doing. Those people, because of people like that, the learning curve, right? The only reason I could have grown so fast is because I got rid of that learning curve, because I wasn't guessing. This is a great thing to write down. Take out the guesswork. Yes. Marketing is measuring, and we also want to take out the guesswork. How do you take out the guesswork? Well, you work with people who have experience. You get the numbers, you get the stats. I know that it can seem kind of boring sometimes, but we need the impressions. We need to know the traffic. We need to know the clicks and the comments and the shares. We need to know what people respond to. We need to know the days and the times. And, if you're just guessing, that's going to be some expensive lessons. So mentors, guides, shamans, coaches, counselors, whatever it is you want to call them, we need those people who have been to where we want to be, who can show us the way.
And to be able to ask for that support, I think for a lot of people, it's the asking and then the allowing and then the receiving. I mean, that's what I'm experiencing myself personally right now. It's just this, and that's where Susan and I honestly feel so blessed with the Grand Connection. We get to meet extraordinary leaders and experts in their field, including yourself. Thank you for that. And it is truly just having this open perspective to learn and implement and take action on those things too. So, the reason from your success, you took a seed from this and planted that and then watered that and okay, yeah, next. So it's being this hungry, lifelong learner. Like you said, take the guesswork out. I love that. Anything you want to add to that, Susan?
The more you can get other, the more you can minimize the mistakes you make. And I don't want to say it in a bad way, but it goes to your bottom line, right? Every mistake costs you. Although mistakes can be good and you learn from them, take that guesswork out, find the people that can give you the strategies and the tips that will help put you on your path quicker. And working with somebody like you, people can meet a lot of great coaches like Carolyn and myself at the Grand Connection and other members of the Grand Connection as well, where you can just have a conversation and see where you can go and what paths you can go on that will minimize some of that guesswork. Yeah. David, you mentioned some of those blockages that people are having. Yeah. I see a lot of that. There's a blockage towards asking for help. Are there some other blockages that entrepreneurs can you've seen frequently that when we can watch out for?
Yeah, and I like to kind of dive into the blocks that may not seem like blocks. I like to dive into even some of the more controversial things, and controversy is a great way to package an idea, right? Now it has to be true, but how you package some of those things. And I'll give you an example of something. People are often too positive. Why, David, too positive? Yes. Yes. And this guy, I'm sure there's people that are listening right now that are going, you can't be too positive and, being bubbly and being happy, like it's the way to go. Well, there's actually a term that is growing in popularity, and you can look it up, and I've been talking about for more than a decade. It's called toxic positivity. And when we have toxic positivity, we're not really facing reality. We're not really understanding and accepting what's in front of us. And there's another component too. Toxic positivity is also very dangerous because it doesn't allow us to really sit in our losses and just be with it and be okay with it. And this idea that we're out chasing this happy buzz and we have to be happy all the time. And there's sometimes that people have seen me and it's like, man, I'm disappointed. I'm really upset. Oh, don't be that way. Be this, be that way. Well, wait a second. Why can't I be this way? Yeah. I need to sit with this for a second. Now, am I going to stew on it for days and weeks and months? No. Maybe I even set the clock and go, okay, for 10 minutes, I'm just going to get all in my feels here, and just be really, but it's that time that you sit in that and you soak in that and you accept that. And it cements in your brain, like, I will never, read my lips, I will never do this again. Don't move too fast past these lessons. And I see this all the time on Facebook where everyone's trying to cheer somebody up and make somebody happy. Sometimes people say, David, I really messed up and I did this. And I say, yeah, you did.
Yep.
We're thinking about all of our things we've messed up. I got the wrong time on an event that I sent out to 5,000 people.
Yeah. No, but you know what? This is so profound because you're talking about truth here, and it really is allowing yourself that space. My phrase, this word is make space for grace. Is to just sit in the uncomfortableness, is what you're saying, and learn from that. and learn what you truly matters most to you in your life and your business. That's what you're reflecting on right now. And, I think this year is that year.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So the idea of be positive, stay positive, always positive, that happy, bubbly person, and you know who you are. We love those people, but at the same time, that believe it or not, that's just not always the answer. I'll give you another one, and I'll get a little bit more business specific. Here's another big block. People, and this kind of could also fall under the little lies we tell ourselves. People feel like their time is so valuable. My time's so valuable. My time's worth $1,000 an hour. No, it's not. It's probably not. There's very few people. It's worth $100 an hour. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe. Let's go through some things here. But because they feel like their time's so valuable, they say this line, and this is a very dangerous line. This will pay for itself. No, it won't. Some of the biggest mistakes I ever made early on, 15, 20 years ago, like, well, I'm opening an office. I need a phone system. Yeah, I need the $25,000 phone system. Well, I got to have a copier. Copiers, well, that's $50,000. I got to have a copier. I mean, how can you have it? It'll pay for itself. It'll pay for it. This office will pay for itself. And probably the most common way nowadays that people use this little lie that'll pay for themselves, thinking that their time is so valuable, is they feel like they need an assistant. Got to have an assistant. Got to have a virtual assistant. There are so many sophisticated, successful people that thanks to technology, thanks to Calendly, thanks to calendar, appointment setting technology and tools, you really don't need an assistant or a secretary. It's very 1995, right? Like you can have project managers. There's lots of people you should hire and do things with. But if you're spending your money on a true assistant, air quotes here, a true secretary, you're wasting money and you're wasting time. And I can prove it almost every. I haven't had anybody come to me yet that I couldn't prove that there was a better way for them to spend their time, spend their money, and see the way. And again, that's just a little lie. It's just a block. It's just something they heard. It feels good, but it leads to mistakes. It leads to loss. It leads to heartache. It leads to a misuse of funds, and it can very easily be rectified. What do you think, Susan? I can see your wheels turning.
You're watching my face because we're just hiring like our third BA now.
Well,
but I don't have a photocopier anymore. Just say it.
But it's for projects, though. It's different.
Yes, it's for that's what I was going to say. What are the things you're having people do? And it comes down to the job duties. Sometimes the title is what tips us off if you're hiring the right people, but it's the job duties. If you have somebody getting your dry cleaning, if you have somebody answering your phones all the time, if you have someone handling your calendar, that's fine. It can be helpful, whatever. But I'm telling you, a lot of times, check automation first, check technology first before you go invest in a person. Now, do you need people? Absolutely. You have to have a team. But there are so many better things to do. You should be having them on Haro. You should be having them social media. You should having them, get you better leads. You should be having them finish what you start. Graphic design, websites. Those are good things for them to do.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, if I have a rule with it is if it's repeatable steps, repeatable process, then that's something that they can continue. And I've trained them once and they can keep doing that because then I've leveraged my time. But if it's something that like dealing with the calendar, really only I need to, it's going to have to come to me anyway. So then there's a whole bunch of back and forth between me and the VA deciding on the calendar. So I find that a lot easier for me to do.
I think you mostly get it, but I do sense a little hesitation. We'll have a little session with you sometime. We'll get you guys worked out.
Yeah.
Here's the last piece of that for a lot of people.
Okay.
Let's say you hire somebody to do, let's say your calendar, which is a big red flag. Let's say you have someone do that. They call you, they say, hey, there's this time. Hey, I put them this time. No, it's not a very good time. Switch the time. Hey, can we move this person to that person? Can we switch this out? Hey, they want to cancel. Had you just dealt with it yourself, it would have been faster. And I know, I get it. He's like, but yes, someday some assistant's going to think like me and they're going to do my count. That's true. They can get better. They can get faster. But I'm telling you, how quickly we can deal with certain things ourselves, leveraging technology, a person is never going to beat it. And anytime I have someone do an inventory, take an inventory sometime, sit down and have somebody tell you how they spent their time during the day and how much time you spent on certain activities. I've done this for over 2 decades now, having people. I've had as many as hundreds of people in 5 offices in 3 states. And it is amazing how much waste happens. Like, I'll leave it on this. It used to be like, oh, I'm tied up in the day-to-day. I'm going to hire more managers. Well, guess what now I do? I talk to my managers every day about what's going on with their teams. Yeah. So I'll hire somebody to take care of all the managers. Well, then if I'm still going to be involved, that person has to tell me what's going on with all the managers. So then I got to tell that person to tell the managers, that tells the people. There is a lost effort in there, and it's kind of the sieve, and it's not 100% able to plug up. But a lot of times for us small business owner, we don't need the help and the security blankets of yes men that we think that we need.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's your business. It's like you're the driver of this bus, right? Absolutely. So thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you for contributing so much to our Grand Potential podcast, David. Yeah. We're all in this together. People are not alone out there. The support is there for you at the Top Talent JV Mastermind, David's team, how he can support you to become clear, more productive, more successful, more visible. So tell us how people can get a hold of you and what opportunities they can participate by joining you in your adventure.
Yeah. Well, if they ever want to have a conversation with me, we do have certain times set aside where people can do a quick 15-minute call. And you don't have to talk to anybody. You can go to davidtfagan.com, and right on there, there's some calendar links. You can just click on the calendar link, select a time that works for you, and ready, set, go. I think that if you see the talent you have, and you like the idea of someone supporting your talent, managing your talent, representing your talent, publicizing your talent, that's what we do. And we can have a conversation about that. And the talent that we work with mostly is, people that are in the advice business, meaning they have a certain skill set and expertise that they want to, help people with. We work with anything from attorneys to coaches to real estate agents to therapists to plastic surgeons to counselors to high-end trainers to, anybody that's giving advice. These are the people who come to us. And we've even worked with celebrities and musicians. We've worked with everybody from Paul Stanley of the band Kiss to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So it can get pretty crazy. And that's why we say, we make business people celebrities and celebrities, business people.
Right.
The only other thing that I would encourage you to do is, if you like the Grand Connection, which I'm sure you do, because of its sense of community and the opportunity to meet with people, I would go to toptalentjv.com. Just like it sounds, toptalentjv.com. The JV stands for joint venture, but toptalentjv.com. And it is by invitation only, but it is free. So if you go there and you want to register, you can be a guest of Carolyn and Susan, and you can just put in your information and put Grand Connection in there if you want. It'll say invited by or referred by. Just write in Grand Connection, and then we'll know that it comes for you guys, and you'll be able to join us. But we do 3 days. There's anywhere from 100 to 200 people for 3 days in a row. They're basically 3 half days, long half days, from the morning to the late afternoon. And we have a lot of same thing you guys, right? We use the same 3 C's. We are connecting and collaborating and creating and all that kind of good stuff together. So yeah, it's another community to get into. And in these days, the way that the world is, if you're not doing the amount of business you want to do, it's simply because you're not talking to enough people or enough of the right kind of people. So how do you talk to more of the right kind of people? Well, you go to the Grand Connection or you go to the Top Talent JV event, and away you go.
Yeah. So thank you. And just really appreciate you and respect you and honor your commitment to really impact businesses all over and organizations all over the world. And
yes, organizations.
I got that. And appreciate you. So
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for grandly giving to our community today with your great stories and your wisdom. So thank you so much for your time.